Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of TinkChat. It's been a while. It's now 2021, and a lot has happened. So I hope you guys have been safe.
Yep.
Things have been happening. There's a lot happening in the 3D printing space, and we're still keeping our eyes out on what's occurring, what's developing, and so we still want to continue to share some of our thoughts with you guys on the actual industry development. Today, in particular, the food industry. We have seen quite a lot of interesting things happen.
Yeah.
And it may not be what you think, or how you think it's developing. So, let's jump into it.
Well, I think most of us are pretty familiar with food, 3D printing food in general. I think they did show it on the news before, and most of them are more like using a type of paste and then extruding it out from the printer onto the bed.
Think icing. Think icing out of like an icing bag that you squeeze.
Yeah, that you squeeze.
Now instead of a bag, it's in a machine syringe of sorts, and it's depositing it as required. But that's not the only way you can print with food. You can also print with food through a process much like the powder-based machine technologies. So, you have a bed of powder, and you go in with a binder, usually like a sugar water of sorts, or some kind of nutritious vitamin solution, and you bind it. You bind the powders together. And whatever that powder is, it could be sugar, it could be, I suppose, starch, really anything. As long as it can be held into a shape, you can do it through that method. It's the technology that's very close to it would be called like a multi-jet printing technology, or even going way back into the general technology for 3DP, which is a powder-based Gibson type of technology. So it could be paste, or it could be that.
I would imagine from the powder-based food, I would imagine it'll be pretty dry.
No, think candy. That's, when we talk about candy 3D printing and printing in candy, that's the type of consistency you'll be looking for, right? So it is dry. You probably wouldn't want to make like a steak out of that. But confectionaries, so candies and things like that, great technology for that application. And where you want the food to be more, I'm going to call it natural, like regular food, paste extrusion is fine. Because you're carrying water with it, you're kind of working with more natural materials, and then you can add on top of that a layer of nutrition, just individualized nutrition that you can mix into the solution, right? So you can do a lot.
I think that was one of the perks of 3D printing is you can actually add in a lot of nutrition, as Eugene said, that maybe you are missing yourself. So there were talks about probably in the very far future, I don't know how, or near future, of having a 3D printer at home where you print your own food and then you select the type of nutrition or nutrients or vitamins that you're missing, and you add it into your food.
Right.
And then you print it there right away, and so you can consume it.
Oh, that's probably like 20, 30 years out. Nutrition analysis is definitely a thing. I mean, everyone's nutritional balance is a little different. Like my nutritional intake in terms of metabolism is very different to that of yours, and probably. And that level of customizability we just haven't had up until this point. I mean, I would even argue that we're not even quite there yet. But we're now starting to explore that possibility. Right? The early days of food printing has been revolving around shapes through candy, chocolate, pizza. We've all seen the videos of the 3D printed pizza going around the interwebs. But we're working with traditional materials, some things that artisans and craftsmen can go in and make a beautiful pizza, but now instead replace them with a robot, right? But I think 3D printing food goes beyond that. It should go beyond that. It should go beyond that with regards to nutrition is a good place to be. Now think about if you're, not us, we probably
Yeah.
I hope we get to go on space journeys, but I don't know. Maybe when we're like 90 years old, we probably can't, and we'll probably be too old for that.
Yeah.
But the problem with space travel is that you don't have access to abundance of food.
Yes.
And so if we need to physically make that possible, like we need to find a different way
of making food.
I mean, I don't know how realistic it is to go to Mars as a landing spot, and then and then farm and then leave and go to another place, right? So if we're going to go for 20-year journeys, we're going to need some stuff on the space shuttles for sure.
I mean that's a very far away concept, but even for now, as in astronauts on the space station,
right?
They're always the dehydrated food, right?
Yeah.
And just having this technology for them on the space station, I'm pretty sure that would revolutionize their lives.
It would probably make the meals more enjoyable, at the very least.
Yeah.
And if we do it well, and if things can be done well, then you can make it really, really nutritious.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And tailor to the individual. We've talked in this channel before about the ability for 3D printers to customize for the individual. This is, I would say, the ultimate form of that. Right.
Yeah.
Customize a shoe for me. Well, customize the food for my nutritional intake. If I'm like super low on vitamin D's because it's raining all the time outside here in Vancouver, well, then put that into my food, and have it be there for me for when my body needs it. Yeah. So we do have a couple companies, and we dug into the world a bit. Some of the research was done kind of pre-2021.
Yeah.
We just jumped right into it, and we looked at and we were looking to see if there's an update on some of these things. And sure enough, one of the companies that we were looking at had
updates.
Had updates and had changed some of the
they're
things.
still trying to come up with more innovative ways of making food, or utilizing this technology to actually make food.
Yeah. Jump into it. Let's go.
Yeah. I think they were called OpenMeals, right?
Yeah.
And
they had a lot.
They had a lot of things, but mostly they are, I guess, revolving around Japanese food.
Yeah, I found that interesting. I don't know why, in particular, Japanese cuisine of all things. Sushi. Yeah. They did Japanese traditional sweets.
Yeah.
A thing called Oden, which is like I don't know, what is it called? It's like a quick snack for businessmen, I suppose.
Oh, I thought it was more like a comfort food.
Like a comfort food.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just seems to always revolve around Japanese cuisine, which I don't really know why, but I think part of the reason is because they are actually situated
in Japan.
Yeah. So their approach has been different with all the projects. Like you can go on their website and you can take a look at all the projects they're doing. They're approaching it very differently.
Yeah.
And not just a singular approach to things. So like with regards to their traditional Japanese sweets, they're actually printing it out of whatever the material is, but it's more about probably flavor and shape. Yeah. Japanese traditional treats are all about the way that it looks and presents and the way that it tastes.
Yeah, and now with 3D printers, you can make it into more organic designs that probably our hands wouldn't be able to replicate.
Yeah, and more repeatable.
Yeah,
precision, which is pretty important. And then they did a thing with regards to sushi, which I found kind of fascinating. They were looking at how to analyze the person's individual nutrition, and then 3D print the nutrition in these really unique looking sushis.
Yes.
Which, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Well,
the
whole,
weird shapes.
Yeah. Well, other than the shapes, the whole part of it was before you actually go into the restaurant to have the meal. Let's say I booked 1 week prior to my reservation. You're supposed to probably take a swab of your mouth.
I think they said
you send it in, or any bodily fluids.
Yeah, I think they said like a urine sample of sorts, which I'm not so sure how I would feel about that. I mean, providing that to my doctor, fair enough. Providing it to a restaurant,
it is probably too out there for now. But They take whatever you give them to analyze what your body is missing, and then they customize it into a sushi that they print you.
Yeah, and I think what's unique about it is they're trying to approach it via both form and shape. So that's really what the technology fundamentally is really good at.
Yeah.
And then they're adding on the layer of what we were talking about, which is customizability or tailoring that experience to the person. I'm pretty sure the food will taste the same to you and I, most likely.
Maybe. I don't know. It looks, the shape and texture looks a bit
unique.
I
mean, we're most likely going to put an overlay on the screen. They are definitely not what you're used to as traditional pieces of sushi. I think if I saw that on the table, I would hesitate for a second. And then I would try it. Right. So, you know, I think this. So they originally thought that they were going to open up a store in Tokyo in 2020. And that's what prompted us to do a bit of a research, redigging, really come 2021. And it seems like they pushed it back a little bit. They just left it as an open-ended 2020X, and then to be determined or something like that. Which I think I give them props for, because this thing is so new. That I think if they launched it too early, the perception and the reception may not be received too well.
I mean, it's just earlier you said you were uncomfortable with giving your body fluids to them. I mean, let's say if you had a chance to attend this restaurant,
I would probably skip that step.
You would skip that step.
But
then it defeats the whole purpose of customization and giving you the nutrients that you need, which was one of the big selling points.
It's like it's like across the boundary for me. I don't like. There's a privacy thing there, at least for now. But I do understand that, like, hey, if the two of us are stuck on like a spaceship going, I don't know, to Pluto or something like that, and the machine is trying to figure out what nutrition we need, and I gotta, we provided urine sample for that. I think that's an acceptable situation to collect that data. This one,
but if you think about it, it's the same. It's just one. You're giving it to a restaurant with a third party owner.
I don't know. Something is like that information is too private. I don't know why the information is too private, but hey, you know what? My mind's flexible for change. Like it could go either way. And so if the world goes towards a direction of, hey, we want to provide the best possible experience, the best possible nutrition to our customers, the best possible balanced meal. Absolutely, I think I'll be behind that. But the first leap in is it's a little foreign. It's a little odd.
I guess we're just not the early adopters to this technology yet.
Well, no, I would think that we are, right? I think being in the 3D printing space allows us to explore and look at some of these things, and it makes us really critical of the moves. Right. So, is printing pizza the shape of a pizza alone good enough? My answer to that is no, it's not, because
there's
people
so many elements.
I mean, people can do it just as well.
I think better technically. If you looked at
I've never tried one.
I never tried one, but if you looked at the physical thing that was reproduced in, I think it was CES back in a couple of years.
I think so, yeah.
That versus a gourmet pizza made by a person.
I look at it from two perspectives. Yes, there is the tangible, salamis and pineapples and whatever you want to put on your pizza, right? By the way, pineapples are the best. And then there is the texture.
But you'll be losing all the texture in the pizza in the first place.
Fair enough. I mean, if there's a way to keep the texture, keep the flavor profiles, I think that's all great if we can get that. And then the opposite side that I think I'm looking at this thing from a business perspective too is like the business implications. I mean,
yes, you'll save on manpower.
Yeah, the scalability of like the Pizza Hut pizza manufacturing plants, right? I mean, it'll be a totally different experience. But that's the business implications. Automation side, I think, makes people excited about what possibly could be. But then you lose something in that experience, which is people.
Yeah.
Like if you can just order pizza, drive to a destination, you know, here comes a box, you don't talk to a single person, and you leave.
Well, technically,
not quite how I envision food.
Technically, in today's world, pandemic-wise, this is perfect.
I suppose.
Yes, you lose the human connectivity, but you also minimize the risk for yourself.
Yeah, I can see a future where the efficiencies. I mean, if we can get pizza cheaper, faster.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone will complain about that.
I don't know. Well, if you can replicate the looks on the pizza with the printer, I think that would be a big plus, because regarding food, if it's not appetizing, then no one will want to eat it.
Well, here, let me ask the question, the same question that the guys over at OpenMeals is trying to tackle, right? Pizza, most people think of it junk food.
Yes.
Or fast food,
yes.
Whatever you want to call it. Before you order the pizza, you're able to kind of give your data, and then they make a balanced meal out of it. Whatever the method, is that better? Like that would be better.
But isn't that the same?
Well, I mean, the manufacturing of pizza by robots with the existing ingredients that we have today versus existing ingredients, and then on top of that, the tailored, customized nutrition for you, that's very different. So I think I can see a time in the future. I don't know how far into the future, a distant future perhaps, where we get the data from our doctors or something, and that information gets fed into some kind of data analysis, and the printers, I suppose, makes a pizza that is nutritious. That I would much better, it's much more preferred, I think, than just a 3D printed automated pizza. And then you displace people for the sake of displacing people and for efficiency purposes. And I think that's always going to be the pushback from industry.
Probably, yeah.
Automation's great for efficiency for businesses, better profit margins, but then you have the trade-off of, people where do they go, right?
And everything.
You can't, you can't expect people that are making pizzas today to all of a sudden become pizza robot service technicians. You just can't expect that. Yeah. So, are there certain things better kept for people? I don't have an answer for that, but there's something about human made, I think, that will forever stay with us. And then there's always going to be businesses that want to, crunch for efficiencies. True. Get that 12-inch pizza down to $3 or whatever.
I mean, all businesses would aim towards that.
Yeah.
It's just more cost effective.
Yeah.
You enlarge your profit margins, and that's the best part.
Yeah. And then I think you need kind of an evolution on top of that. And I think the nutritional play may just be that key to get people to say, hey, you know what, pizza, it's not the most healthy food, but we can make it healthier for people. So I think so. Kind of backtracking a bit, Singularity, I think they do some really cool things. They're definitely taking a different approach to just food printing than what we've seen. So if any of you are interested in taking a look at what's happening in the world of food printing,
they are pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to do a lot.
There was another thing that they did was radish, was it?
Yeah, part of the Oden.
Part of the Oden project that they did. Yeah. They actually replicated radish, and apparently the texture and taste is, you can't distinguish it between the real thing and the 3D printed thing.
Now, I don't know how much of it is 3D printed, the actual piece of food.
Yeah.
They have a bit of videos playing, kind of like on the background that loops, and it almost seemed like somebody was taking a piece of radish out of a mold. So I don't know if they're like...
So it's like injection molded into it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they're making the radish or if they're making the mold for making the radish. Whichever way it goes, they're using the technology for food.
Yes. But then now that I think about it, it's kind of redundant. You're taking radish paste and turning it into radish again.
Unless again they try and do something, they're enhancing the flavor, they're making the nutrition better, they're doing something.
Yeah,
I would agree with you. If it just was a piece of radish, it would probably
mashed into paste, and then you just paste it into a mold to make it into
a radish.
It seems kind of redundant.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you on that. So, I think the interesting part is the fact that they're trying all these things, and we've seen some of those already. So, the mold making for food, we've seen that.
I mean, even we made one for chocolate.
We did. Yeah. We did for school projects. Yeah. Right. And so the easy stuff are the things that already exist today. The hard stuff are the things that you like analyze and then you add additional nutrition and do all that stuff. So I give them props for trying all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So let's move on from Singularity. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. We'll pull up the website here. So if you do want to do more research yourself regarding what their projects are, you can go to their website. But we're going to move on to something different. Not really about using 3D printers to make food, but actually using food products to enhance, not enhance.
Well, going the other way, using food waste to
make ingredients
for 3D printing. So in this case, it's using McDonald's oil,
cooking oil,
to make stereolithography polymerization resin.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know what a polymerization resin is, it's resin when it gets exposed to UV light, it hardens.
Yeah.
And the technology that uses that are typically stereolithography, DLP, and MSLA. So and there's a couple more. Clip also uses a similar technology, but similar material. But yeah, it's predominantly just resin technology. We just simply call it resin.
Yeah, we just call it resin.
Yeah. So what did they do? I
think they were trying to do some research regarding if they can do this in the first place, and they went to McDonald's, and McDonald's happily gave away all their cooking oil. Well,
did they?
I think it was like 4 liters.
Yeah, I think they put a call for fast food restaurants to give oil. I think McDonald's was the only one that
McDonald's was the only one that responded.
Yeah,
and they got like 4 liters or something like that.
Right.
And then they were tasked to see if they could replicate, well, not replicate, but remodify. Is it remodifying? The cooking oil into high quality resin, so that you can use that into 3D printers.
Hey, did the article say what it smelled like when you print with it? Like, did it smell like cooking oil?
I actually don't remember.
I think, you know what I think? I think it's really cool that the industry is trying to look for ways to
reuse things,
recycle. And I mean, like, how many McDonald's are there in the world? Yeah. Right. And how much oil? I think we saw a project. I mean, this was way back in our days where they were trying to figure out they can use recycled oil for diesel fuel.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is for me no different in regards to that. And it's trying to just look at the supply chain and say, hey, where can we be more efficient?
Yeah.
And I mean, if it works and it smells good, why not? If there's one thing I know about resin printing, is that the resin is not the best smelling thing on the planet.
I mean,
and handling it is messy.
Yeah.
Right.
Personally, I don't know how much better McDonald's cooking oil would be. It's not like 3D printers like FDM printers where you have to heat it up, right? The UV cures it, and you don't usually smell anything.
Fair enough. Yeah, you don't really heat. You know, resin technology doesn't require any heat. Well, I think there's a byproduct of heat. I mean, a laser or a light shines on the material, so you're gonna get some just like off gassing because of heat or increased off gassing from the heat. But it'd be interesting to see if they can dial the smell
fumes.
Back. Yeah, the fumes back. And you know what? I think if this could be a success, this industry is always looking for ways to recycle, right?
It'll definitely change because if you're looking at right now, even using resin, where do we recycle resin? We have no idea.
Well, if you look at the bottles of the resin materials, it would always refer you to your local municipal recycling program.
Which in cities, well, I don't know, in BC, we don't know.
It's hard to find that information.
We don't know where to find one.
So yeah, if any way to make that process a little better, I think the industry is always looking for that. So I think that's really cool. I mean, there may be different ways to do it. I mean, oil, who knows?
Well, the conclusion of that article is they did manage to not recreate, but turn this cooking oil into I don't know if it's high quality resin yet, but into resin, and they were able to print this butterfly and have it harden.
And turn into an actual shape.
Yeah, so that's a good breakthrough, I would say, regarding this recycling of cooking oil. Because as we said, like there's so many fast food restaurants out there.
Yeah.
And having been able to actually reuse their oil would actually be quite beneficial to the environment and everything.
I just thought of something. Because there's so many fast food restaurants across the world, this is actually a really awesome supply chain problem that they're trying to deal with. I mean, if you can make resin locally to your city, country, or whatever, you don't have to ship it around. So maybe they're onto something that like we don't know. And I just thought of this while you're talking, which is pretty cool, actually. If it could actually be done, you recycle, you save on shipping, and distribution becomes easier. So I mean, it plays literally on the strength of the technology, the fact that you can send a file from here to somewhere in London, and then you can get oil-based resin material. That's pretty cool. I gotta say, that's pretty cool. So I do want to see this thing progress if it possibly could. You know, we do have resin technology here that we use for our design to manufacture stuff, and so if there's a way to get our hands on some, I would definitely love to.
I mean, there's literally a McDonald's like 10 minutes away from us.
Okay, we probably won't be able to make the resin. Oh, come on. I mean, it will be interesting for sure. Okay, so I think there's a couple of other really more traditional use cases that we also found within the food industry. Large companies to small companies. But I think last year Pepsi put out a new design for bottles that are coming out. Was it Pepsi? Yeah, I think it was Pepsi.
PepsiCo,
and they have been redesigning their pop bottles or beverage bottles, not just pop, all beverage bottles across the board. And they've been using 3D printing for rapid prototyping of the form study. How it holds, how it feels. And that totally just changed the way that it has been done. So, you know, being able to physically hold something is very different than seeing something on CAD and computer and thinking to yourself, I think it's big enough. I mean, we've done that ourselves where we say, I think that's big enough, and we print it out and it's like, just
tiny,
right? And maybe that's just okay, well, it's not that big. Usually it's about the right size, but our gauge of how something feels in the hand is totally off.
It's completely different,
So, I mean, rapid prototyping, best use case scenario is actually that. For you to validate your design before it gets into the industrial side and when you're trying to, before you scale up. So I think PepsiCo is using this for the the right ways, the right reasons.
I mean, other than their bottles, they're actually using the same technology for different shapes and sizes for chips, which is fascinating.
Like chips?
Yeah, potato chips.
Of course they are.
I don't know how different it would be. Like maybe the texture or the crunch or something like that provides better tasting. I don't know, but they're also utilizing this technology for that as well, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what benefit that would be, but they probably have insight into their business way more than we
Maybe it's more fluffy.
Like the things about chips that I know, and I don't eat too much like chips because I don't particularly like them all that much, but like wafer chips for the different textures, the different crunch, I suppose. But how would you test that?
I have no idea.
I mean, you would be able to test size, I guess.
I honestly think wafer chips and normal potato chips, they literally taste, I mean, they serve the same purpose for me. I don't see a difference in it. I don't prefer one over the other.
I can see a user experience scenario where different size chips provide different experience. Like, you know those like flimsy little chips that like break in your hands when you're trying to lift them up?
Yes.
Or like the chips that are too big to fit in your mouth when you're trying to eat them?
Yeah.
Like perhaps they're trying to do that.
Huh.
Like, you know how those salsa chips with the little cups? Like stuff like that.
Oh, maybe.
I can see that where they're experimenting with shapes to do something unique. But if they're just doing like slices of potato, I think they're missing the point on that. But I doubt they are. I doubt that they are.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, unique ways. Like, and this is the thing. Like, it's really hard to gauge with, like, from an outside perspective, how an industry is going to use something.
Your technology.
And our guesses are as good as yours. Unless you are in the industry and you can think of something.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that there are so many different ways to use this technology that there are like literally countless of applications that can be leveraged. Yeah.
Another thing with big companies we can look at is Hershey's chocolate
molds,
different organic shapes or unique shapes. A lot more traditional because when food and 3D printing first started, chocolate was one of the main things that was looked at. All these organic shapes that an artisan just couldn't replicate, right?
Yeah.
So that's possible now.
I mean, it's not the first time we've seen like chocolate printing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, making molds, then printing them, casting them, like that's all pretty traditional stuff that they're already doing that. They're probably just optimizing their workflow, their speed to a new shape or new design. And then I'm assuming that they're maybe actually 3D printing the actual shape itself. But that's traditional stuff. That's what we saw 5 years ago with regards to food printing. So, I mean, it's chocolate. What else can you do with that, I suppose?
I mean, there's one more fascinating thing which I actually looked into was I think it was a company that was trying to recreate meat, 3D printing meat, and
like Beyond Meat or meat, like in the shape of
the shape of a steak
with the same textures.
Yes, they like print like tendons and everything, and
I gotta say, if they can pull that off, that would change the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, for not just the food industry itself, but the whole world, as you're looking at greenhouse gassing reduced, waste reduced,
probably nutrition.
Yeah, nutrition, everything like that. I mean, personally, when I looked at the pictures on the site,
are they there?
I don't think so.
Okay, that would be my guess.
Yeah, it looks like
that would be my guess.
Yeah.
But I think you know what I think. I think like we've heard some talk with regards to cell printing.
Yeah.
I think that's our best bet for
recreating these
meat and meat-like materials.
Yeah.
Anything that uses like a paste meat.
Yeah.
Probably will not get to that level.
Probably won't be the same texture and anything.
But like, are you okay? I guess the question is this: are you okay eating like printed cow meat? Like, is that equivalent of like GMO things? And I'll ask the audience too: are you guys okay eating 3D printed like meat out of cells?
Oh.
Like, it's actually meat, but is that too sci-fi? Right? Is that too out there?
I don't know. Right now it's in my head. It's too out there.
What if you're traveling in space? and you really want that steak.
Well, I mean, by the time that we have technology to actually travel in space, it may have already became a norm, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So I'll probably be more okay with it. But right now, currently, probably not.
Okay, I would probably say the same.
Yeah.
It's just it's a little too out there.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think what's really cool is that all these things are happening.
Yeah.
And it's not slowing down anytime soon. It's actually accelerating.
Yeah.
And I can see it accelerating even faster as this industry gets more mature.
Yeah.
Technology gets better. I'm going to call it materials gets better. So like cell material or printing materials gets better. And techniques gets a little bit more refined. So yeah, bring on the food printing. Because I think this will probably change the way that we eat in the future.
Probably. It's just like there's a lot of things that we probably wouldn't want to eat, or it deters us from eating. But with 3D printing, it'll probably change the shape and everything. And we might actually want to eat it afterwards. For example, which is insects. Insects are very nutritious. They have protein. Not that, I know I make it sound like I want to eat insects, but I actually don't. Not very inclined into either. But 3D printing can change that aspect because it's very nutritious and there's a lot of protein in them. And if you grind them all up into powder or a paste and then you extrude it and make it into like a nice looking cookie, and I don't know about it, you gave it to me and it was like, hey, you want to try it? And I'm like, okay, I try it. And then I'm like, okay, it's not bad. And then after you tell me it's made of grinded grasshoppers.
Okay, well, the food industry can't work that way, number one.
Well, yeah.
But I do understand what you're saying. I mean, insects grow fast. They're literally bugs. They reproduce really quickly. But I don't know how I feel about just grinding things up and letting people not know about it. If I was fully disclosed and I knew about it and I ate it, that's absolutely okay. But having said that, could we fix the issue with protein around the world by being a little bit more creative about some of these things? I mean, having said that, insects are eaten around the world. And that's pretty common.
Yes.
It's just not here.
Yeah.
Right? So
in North America, it's a bit out there for us.
I would say so. I've tried. It's okay. It doesn't really have much taste.
What have you tried?
Cricket cookies.
Oh, interesting. No, I haven't tried any.
I think this is a good segue to our outro. I think we can sum this up. I think the food industry is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We'll most definitely be keeping a tabs on what's happening in the developing of the food-based 3D printing side of the world. So, if you do work in the food side of the world and you're working with 3D printing, I would love to see some of that.
Insights. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Remember to comment.
Yeah. Otherwise, outro?
Yeah, so remember to subscribe. There's a button that's going to be bottom right here. Also click the bell that's next to it so that you always get notification from us when we update a episode on our YouTube channel. And we'll also be putting this as a podcast still on Anchor and Spotify. So if you don't have time to watch a YouTube video, you can listen to us while you're driving, commuting, or on the train.
Or whenever you like.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time then.
Yeah. I hope you guys join us. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Hey, did you guys realize that we're in a totally new set?
Yeah.
We expanded our space.
Our filming space in the warehouse.
Yeah, we used to call that the cave because it was so tiny.
Yeah.
And now it's like 3 times the size. So we need to do some changes with regards to audio. It may be echoey because it's so much bigger now.
Yeah.
But hope you guys like the new set. There will be
more things that you would look forward to. I mean, you can look forward to from us.
We actually have 2 other sets that we have built. And so keep an eye out for some of those videos and we'll see you guys later.